When I bought that 32 units, I improved the lives of 32 working class families that lived there. And before I owned it, they were not well served. So I was able to come in there and make, money for myself, but I was able to transform that property from, an undermanaged and underserving community to one where people were proud to call it home.
Welcome back to The Real Grind, guys. This is the place where we talk real estate and sip on a best cup of
coffee.
Let's go. Today is super special episode because here I have not just a good friend of mine, but everything you see in this studio, it begins with a person that is my mentor, and we're gonna learn from him today. He is here with us, but before that, bringing him, let's get the show started. The Real Grind, let's go.
Waking up to success, now we're getting it started. This is the real grind. Everything you've been wanting, building an empire, no question. Talking about real estate, investing, making the millions, no stopping. While we sip on gourmet coffee. The real grind, this is the real grind. Let's go.
Since 2005, he has helped his students to purchase $6 billion in apartment complexes, enabling many to retire early, significantly increase their net worth. Aims to help over 1 million people to achieve financial freedom through investing in apartments. I had the pleasure to call him my mentor. And welcome on the stage, Sumrok, the apartment king. Let's go! Right. My man!
Sumrok, some?
Hey, man.
Some don't.
Some don't. You guys rock here at The Real Grind, man.
Brad, man, what a pleasure. I'm so happy, man, that you're here. A lot of this, I have to own it to you. And for me, I'm humble to say thank you.
Hey, you're welcome, Neander. And you know what? This is a great setup you have here. I'm really proud of everything that you've put together. And I'm happy to see you living your dream, my friend.
I am definitely living my dream, man. But today, we're going to not just talk about a bunch of real estate, but we're going to have some good cup of coffee. I particularly put this one especially for you to try. I know how much you like coffee.
Well, I'm a coffee aficionado, right?
Really?
Yeah, I love coffee, man. It's like my passion. I start every morning with 1 cup of coffee, sometimes 2, and a little secret, sometimes 3.
But I've been close to you. You use an espresso. Here we're in the next level, buddy. I'm gonna have to try some. Nespresso is good, actually. It's okay, but every day we have a machine right there. But we have the holy grail.
All right, what is it? What are we talking about today?
All right, Brad. So let's start by your beginners, man.
No.
Sure.
I mean the coffee, man.
It's not a coffee time. Hang out, bro. Hang out. Hang out. Well, let's start by you sharing a little bit, Brad, about your beginnings, where you come from. How does little Brad? Just share with us, man.
Well, look, my parents would pack us into a station wagon, and it was a green station wagon. My dad would carry me out at 4 a.m. I was still asleep with my brothers and sisters and lay us in the back of the station wagon. And then we would drive to Lake Erie from Pittsburgh. That's where I grew up. And we would get to Lake Erie when the sun was coming out. And when we would wake up, my mom would tell us a story about how my dad's boss was an engineer. And they were flying to Hawaii. And we were driving to Lake Erie for our summer vacation. And when my dad had a good year, would go to New Jersey, from Pittsburgh. So it was impressed upon me from an early age how important it was to study hard and get good grades and go to college. And so, look, I did everything right, or so I thought, and that's what I did. I studied hard, got good grades, and went to college, got a job, became an engineer, and quickly found out that, I wasn't really cut out for corporate America. I didn't come in early. I didn't stay late. I took my lunches and I took my vacation. And then I was told I wasn't management material. So,
you're not pushing enough. You're just.
I mean, look, and then I went back and got another degree because, look, we all have a blueprint of what it means to be successful. And my parents weren't in business. My dad had a job and he had a steady job. So that was my blueprint. And my dad never finished college. So, to get a good job, what I was taught was you got to get a degree. And then if you want a better job, you got to get a second degree. So I did all that. And I worked for 14 years in corporate America. And I tried climbing the corporate ladder, worked for 5 different companies, and actually got laid off once and I even got fired once. Found myself in my early 30s of being like not sure what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And so that's kind of how I got into real estate. Is back in the days when there were bookstores. We don't have a lot of bookstores anymore, but back in the day there was a Barnes and Noble or a Borders bookstore on every corner. And so in Texas, when it's hot outside, like that's what I would do in the summertime. I would go to the bookstores and look at all the bestsellers. And I saw this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I picked it up and read the book, and it changed the trajectory of my life, the stuff that Robert Kiyosaki wrote about in his book. And then the second book with the cash flow quadrant, and he talked about employee, self-employed business owner and investor. And my whole life, I had taught to be an employee and work hard and save my money and invest in stocks and bonds and 401ks and live below my means and save a nest egg, so that at some point I'd retire and have a nest egg that I could live off of, and pay my fair share of taxes. And on the other side, there's the business owners, the investors, and they're creating jobs. And if they do well, they're making more money and they're paying less taxes and they have more time and more freedom. And I'm thinking, man, no one ever taught me this stuff. And so that's when I went out and sought out to be a business owner or investor, and saw an advertisement for a real estate investing seminar. That's how I got into real estate.
So the first real estate experience that you got, was it through multifamily right away?
Well, look, I went to this seminar, and I was this highly educated guy with 2 degrees, and I mentioned I lost my job twice, but I had a job. I was employable and got hired again. So I have this job and I'm making $10,000 a month. And I walk into the seminar day one and I got my arms crossed thinking like, what am I going to learn here?
Yeah.
I got 2 degrees. What is this? What are they going to try to sell me? And they taught single family rentals. And I started to absorb the material. And that night I went home and I was like, my goal was to buy 40 single family rentals within 3 years, and I could quit my job, and those 40 single family rentals will give me about $200 to $300 a month cash flow from each deal, and that will enable me to quit my job. And then day 2, I came back and I was excited, and I didn't have my arms crossed anymore. And I sat in the front row and I was taking so many notes, and he talked about multifamily investing. And if you had enough capital, like he was like, if you have 100,000 or more, you could skip doing some of the single family stuff.
Can upgrade.
You could go right
First
into
class.
multifamily. And so I was like, oh my God, I don't have to have 40 homes. I'm going to go buy an apartment building. And so I took that seminar. I actually bought into that mentorship program. It was the first mentor I ever had in my life, outside of my parents or outside of my university education. I never had like a business mentor. And so took the seminar, bought the mentorship program, and I took action. And 8 months later, I had 32 unit apartments. That was the first real estate investment I ever made in my life.
Isn't that amazing, dude?
Crazy, right?
And I think I want to, a little bit come back with that. It's like you lived the life that your parents put in you to study, have good grades. But how it's people don't get happy with that sometimes. It's not like I see this, that growth is premature until you end up in the rat race. So you talk about. So you were not happy where you did that achievement of yours to have degrees in college.
I mean, look, there were times where I really enjoyed my job, but what I found is that like when I was working for somebody else and like, and I still have mentors and I still go to seminars, and masterminds, and that's one of the keys to my success. But what I learned is like when we're progressing, we're happy.
Yeah.
We think sometimes it's like when we reach a certain goal. Like I thought I'd be happy when I made $100,000 a year in corporate America. Well, I did that. I thought I'd be happy when I graduated college. I did that. I thought I'd be happy when I got an MBA. I did that. But I didn't feel this sense of like fulfillment of like growing and progressing. And there were times where I felt like the opposite, and I felt like I was working hard and undervalued and underappreciated and underutilized and not really lit up about what I was doing. Like, was the work that I was doing really matter? And maybe it mattered to my boss or to the company, but I didn't feel like it mattered to me. And so for that reason, I wasn't fulfilled. So like, I didn't get into apartments or real estate, honestly, for the money. I got into it because it like called to my, it fulfilled me.
Right. And obviously, to the apartment investing that we're going to talk about this later, it's not just that you benefit by doing it, but you benefit that community too, by doing all those upgrades that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But it's definitely something.
I mean, hey, look, when I bought that 32 units, I improved the lives of 32 working class families that lived there. And before I owned it, they were not well served. They were, I don't want to say it was owned by a slumlord, but
right,
like it was not, they were not being well served. So I was able to come in there and make, money for myself, but I was able to transform that property from, an undermanaged and underserving community to one where people were proud to call it home.
And I remember, Brad, I think I went to that property with you years later, right? We went together in Houston.
We did.
And then I remember like Brad was walking inside with the middle there, and he was like, oh, it was to be storages here. You were so passionate about it, man. You were so passionate about the first unit that he bought. Now a guy that owns thousands of units and done multiple things, and that first one was the first love, huh?
I remember that. Like I bought that property in 2002, and you and I went there probably 2018. Like we were in Houston, and I was like, hey, let's go and let me show you the first building I owned. And I think we were doing some content. And my heart sank a little bit because, when I owned it, we turned it into a really nice place that people were proud of. And I was proud. Like I showed my mom that property, I showed my dad that property. And when I went there in 2018, it was kind of run down again.
Yeah.
And it was underserved again. And my heart sank a little bit. And I remember that. I was like, man, we used to have this and we used to have that. And this was all painted and nice and all the solar screens on the windows. And it was a little dilapidated when we got there, remember?
Yeah, I remember. But the passion of yours that was the first one is still there. Maybe somebody will buy in a few years or so, put a lot of CapEx money there and turn that around. But Brad, we'd love to touch about the meet and greet of the real estate, man, and your experiences. But first, this is our favorite part of the show. Guess what time it is?
Is it coffee time?
It's coffee time. Right. Let's go. Okay, this show is sponsored by F Monday Coffee because Brad inspired me of retiring people from just like his story of retiring early. So what's the worst day of the week when you work in corporate America?
Well, in corporate America, the worst day of the week was Monday.
So that's why we developed this coffee. And let's watch the promo video.
Welcome to the corporate world. A place you go to every day against your will, with endless meetings. And worst of all, shitty coffee. Introducing F*** Monday, a specialty coffee for those who want to kickstart the week with a better taste. A reminder to do your own thing or go after what's brewing in your head. Unless you're thinking of reading tarot cards for dogs or other dumb ideas like that. For everyone else, F*** Monday, your daily dose of attitude.
So this coffee, Brad, is that, we're not just featuring a lot of small roasters, producers, and, people that the coffee, we helping them out to bring them to a shelf or something, but also to empower entrepreneurs, people that, we often talked about to our investors. There's people that will invest with us. There's people that sign up for your program to empower them. F Monday, man.
I love it.
Let's try some coffee.
Right,
Hold on,
do it.
just before we get started. Good seeing you again, Brad.
Nice seeing you.
Yeah, thanks for coming, having some coffee with us. Good seeing you. And just before we try this, Did you relate to that video at all?
I did, man. So okay, let me tell you, Monday was like the worst day, and then Wednesday we called it over the hump day, because Wednesday was like halfway through the work week. So if you imagine like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're at the top of the hill, and then by lunchtime Wednesday, you started going down the hill.
Yeah.
And then Friday was like, oh my God, hallelujah.
The hallelujah coffee is the Friday
And then you
coffee.
repeat it every week. That was corporate America for 14 years.
Awesome. That's what I was like watching you. I was like, he was part of that. Like, you had shitty coffee at the office?
Oh man, it was terrible. I used to hate coffee.
Let's change that right now,
Yeah.
man. Here. So let me give you this so you don't have to hold the saucer in there and make it easier. So this coffee that we're gonna try, let me open this up in here. Like Neander said, we're gonna be featuring coffee from amazing farms. This one in here, as you can see, there's no label on it, right?
Yep.
Again, that just shows that this comes from a small local farm. So we're gonna try to help these people out. Neander, can you tell who they
Yeah,
are?
definitely. This is from cousins of mine. They're sold everything in the city to go. They're living their dream. And the farm, they have twin kids, and they call it double coffee.
Double
because
coffee.
it's two kids. So
I love it.
But this bread, it's like drinking Caymans, okay?
Yeah.
When you start drinking good coffee like this, to go back to your regular oak tree is hard. So
And give it a good smell, just like wine.
pretty fruity forward.
It's good.
It's almost like you're drinking a tea.
Yeah. I like it.
Is that the kind of coffee you drink in the morning?
I like it. Well,
Or do you drink espressos? What do you drink? Tell us.
I mean, I have a little coffee grinder thing. You know, I
Nice.
push the button and it grinds the beans and it
Oh, right on.
dispenses the coffee.
Right on.
Yeah.
And
So we give you some to go
Yeah.
for you
Yeah.
to take it to your
where
machine.
do you get your coffee from?
I mean, all over the place.
Oh, right
So,
on.
Yeah.
When you travel, do you buy
Yeah.
coffee and bring back home?
Yeah, I
type of
love
deal?
buying unique coffee from
What
you
is
know,
the
from
country?
farms.
What is that country that you do the wheels thing?
the wheelchairs.
the lawn?
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Where's-
Ecuador, Guatemala.
Do you bring coffee from there?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, glad you liked it. This is like a
Give it a note from 0 to 10.
what's the score?
Oh, it's a 9.
Ooh. I think it's not a 10 because he doesn't have it at home right now.
Yeah.
We'll change that. But Brad, dude, I've known you for a minute now, but I never really heard your story like you're telling it here.
Yeah.
I'm just over there, just fascinated with your story, with your journey. I want to hear more about it. And if you need more coffee, you know where I'm at.
Awesome.
So enjoy your coffee. Let me put this right here so if you
All
want to sit
right.
it down. And thank you so much. For you at home that's watching the Real Grind right now, if you want to get amazing coffee, just like the one we're drinking here right now, go check out fmonday.com. All the amazing coffee we drink at the show, the ones that we approve, will go online and you guys will be able to buy and support this local farmers. You're not gonna go home empty-handed. So here's a little something for you.
right.
So whenever you drink some coffee, there's a nice merch in there for you
love
as
it.
well.
Hey, look
So-
at that, man.
Yeah, right on. So if you guys need more coffee, I'll be right there, but I want to keep hearing your
All
story.
right.
Thank
Love
you.
it.
Appreciate it.
All right.
All right, boss. So you had your your first apartment complex, and how'd you scale from there?
Okay, so my first property, that 32 unit, I used my own money. And where did I get the money? I worked in corporate America. I was making $10,000 a month. I had a job at one point where I was in sales. I transitioned from engineering to sales, and I got a commission check for like almost $200,000. 6 months later, I got fired because I had no pipeline. Like, sales is a brutal business. You can make it's feast or famine. You can do really well, and you don't have a pipeline, they let you go. So I had a nice commission check. And so I bought the 32 units for about $1 million, put 20% down. Bought my second deal, 30 units, another 20% down. Now I got 62 units, but I'm out of money. So what do I do? Well, what most people would do is they would wait until they were able to get their equity out of these 62 units and buy something else. But now I had a track record, and this broker brought me a 250 unit deal, and I didn't have the money to buy it. But because I joined that mentorship program, and they had like meetups and, investor community gatherings. People knew me now as the guy that like had 62 doors. And so people would tell me, Brad, if you find another deal, I want to invest with you. And so this is why it's so important, like, to get out there and join communities and be part of networking programs and stuff like that. Because that third deal, I raised $2 million from 27 people. And I did my first syndication. And syndication is a complicated term. When I first heard it, I didn't even know what it was. And that was, 20 years ago. But all a syndication is when a group of people come together, they pool their money, time, and resources together. And some people could be the active investors, which we call the general partners, and some could be the passive investors or the limited partners. And if you're the active investor, you could get a piece of the deal. And so it's a way to like really leverage your returns and provide value not only to the communities that you buy, but to the investors that come into the deal with you. And so that was my first syndication. So now most of the deals that I do are syndications.
Well, see the syndications and the fact that be able to leverage it. Brad, Robert Kiyosaki says that in the book, right? Leverage others people's money. Right?
Yeah. And look, and we all heard about OPM, right? But there's another thing that we want to leverage, which is other people's time and other people's experience. So like, when you're doing a deal, you're probably on the general partnership side now most of the time. So you find the deals, analyze the deals, secure the debt for the deals, raise the money for the deals, manage the deals.
It's a lot of time.
And because you're doing all that work, you could take a piece of the upside, right? And then the passive investors are putting in money, so you're leveraging their money, but they're leveraging your time and your experience. And so that's one of the benefits on both sides. Like, it's a synergistic relationship between people that want to be passive versus people that want to be active.
100%. And Brad, you started doing this, and talk to me about the mentorship program, because, obviously when you teach, you learn twice. Isn't that what they say?
Well, look, I never intended in the beginning to be a multifamily mentor or an apartment mentor. Like, literally, I got into real estate because I hated the corporate world and I wanted to be financially independent. And my number, I call it a financial freedom number. And my goal was to make $10,000 a month from my investments so I could quit the rat race. And I did that within 3 years of doing apartments. And my first role as a mentor was my original mentor wanted to expand his organization. And so he wanted to go from Houston, outside of Houston, to Dallas. And so I was actually mentoring for him and his organization for 6 years before I started my own company. And so that's when I started my own company in 2012 or 2013. And the reason I mentor is because that's how I started. A lot of people, there's a myth out there, or I would even say a misrepresentation. People were like, oh, those that can't do teach. And I'm like, no, that's not true. Those that teach are generous people. And if it wasn't for people like a Tony Robbins, for example, like, he doesn't have to do what he does.
Right.
But he does it because he wants to change lives. Like,
right.
He's a billionaire and he still goes around and he's away from his family, he's away from his wife, he's away from his beautiful homes, and he's on the road half the time doing events.
Yeah.
Because number one, it fulfills his soul. And number two is he wants to impact as many people as possible. And so we could impact people from doing deals, but you could impact more people from helping other people, do what you do.
100%. And it's like, it is a different side of it when you're actually mentoring. It comes with the teaching, but the mentorship is that somebody that it's done it. It's not just sometimes I see nothing wrong with professors, but there's a lot of people that teach, but they haven't experienced necessarily what they're teaching, right? And, one thing about you that I see that you do really, really well is like, by leaving my example, you started buying, you wanted something to scale and buy multifamily, and you bought multifamily. Are you doing it? Now you're mentoring other people. So how did that program started it?
Well, I'll never forget when I wanted to start my own program. I knew the apartment investing business. I knew the syndication business. I had all the pieces of the puzzle. Of course, that was in 2012, and now we're in 2024, and I know more now than I did then. But 2012, I started in 2002. So when I started my mentoring program, I already had a decade of experience and contacts and Rolodex and deals. And so I knew that I was able to mentor people, but I didn't know how to I didn't know how to put on an event. I didn't know how to speak from the stage. I mean, obviously, if I'm mentoring, I want to turn it into a business that makes money, and I didn't know how to do that. So what did I do is I sought out a coach, a mentor. So I remember in 2012, I had a guy that I went to in California, and he taught me the event business and the speaking business. So man, I'm just telling you, if you want to shortcut the process, get a coach, get a mentor, and everything that you can learn from somebody else, you can learn on your own, but it's just going to take you more time and more money.
100%.
And so if you want to compress decades into days, you want to have a mentor. So I learned the speaking business. I learned how to do an event. I learned how to negotiate with hotels. I learned how to brand, market, position, fill a room. And so I'll never forget the first event I did was in 2013. I had 142 people show up, and I taught for 2 days straight. And at the end, I just said, hey, look, if you want to work with me, I'm going to help you from, analyzing the deals to finding the deals to creating, a property analyzer to holding your hand every step of the way. And that's when I got my first clients back in 2013.
2013,
yeah,
baby.
I remember after that event, I had 8 clients. Now I have over 800.
That's amazing. Well, I happy to say that, Brad, I testify that you changed my life. I remember the day that I walked into the room, I wasn't necessarily went there to learn, but I went there and I learned because my ears were open for something new. And I saw at the time how many people had difference in their lives by, and I remember it's we quit our jobs and now we're doing this and increased our net worth and the community, we're doing this and that. It was beautiful to see. I never thought that I could do such a thing. And now if I'm sitting here, man, it's all because of your program and because of you. So I deeply appreciate it, man.
Well, hey, and thank you. And I want to acknowledge and receive that, because sometimes when people, they can't receive a compliment. And I used to be one of those people that would just, not be able to receive it well. But I also want to say that you were open, you did it, you put in the work. And I want to be clear about that. To be successful on anything, you got to put in the work. So my students that put in the work, that are committed like you did and like you were and you still are, that's why you're also successful. And if I could say, I don't want to flip the table here and interview you, but there's something I want to say here that's really important, is a lot of my students come from technical backgrounds, like engineer or accounting or finance or business degrees, and they've had lots of success. But I want to point out that you didn't have that background. You came from music and more creative, and yet you were able to come in and have massive success in apartment syndication. So I guess I want to ask you a question just for a minute here. Tell me about that. Was it harder for you than
It was because I have a similar probably beginnings on the educational part, that my family was really humble. I came from Brazil, and I never heard of such a thing as investment. I thought investments for rich people. I thought people would do such a thing, right? We're done smart decisions, especially my wife. She was planning her life for the future. So we had that knowledge, but I never knew that I could buy or anybody could buy. I thought banks own multifamily. You know what I mean? I lived in apartments. Actually, when I met you, I was living in apartments that I thought a bank owns, and I find out that somebody just like you and I could own such a damn thing. And it was mind blowing, the amount of content that I was listening. So yeah, it was eye-opening. I did took action, and I took this serious. I just didn't hear it and think, oh, this is not for me. I manifested. I was like, this bitch, I'm going to fucking do it.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? And I did it. So I'm here because of me, but because somebody else put the path for me, and then I followed.
And that's what it takes. I'm so glad we had that conversation. So thank you for allowing me to ask you that, because this is not a get rich quick thing, but it's, if if you're open to the information and take action. But you can't just take any action. Like if you want to see, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So if you want to see the sun set, you have to head west. You can go as fast as you want heading east and you won't see the sunset. So like when people talk about taking action is important, but it's the right actions. And so it's important that when you go out to learn, that you learn from somebody that knows how to put you in the right direction. And so that's what I'm passionate about, man. Like I'm passionate about a couple things in life. I'm passionate about doing deals, and I'm passionate about helping other people get into doing deal business, doing multifamily deals.
And the results show how many people have been successful, right? By your mentorship. It's not just the apartment investing, obviously, is the path, but because you mentor them, your coaches, your program, your whole platform that you put together, the networking events, So, Brad, talk to me about recently there was a post about the Wall Street Journal, and I read it. So talk to me how that came about.
Well, first of all, you were in the article. So like, is that like you were in the article? So look, the whole story around the Wall Street Journal, let me just say this in the beginning. I could have only hoped and dreamed to be known in national media. And I did a lot of good work over a decade and a half. And, it's really hard to get the attention of national media. And most of the time when you see people like, hey, I'm on the cover of Forbes or was on TV or whatever, most of those spots are paid sponsorships. A lot of people don't know that, but a lot of people pay to get media exposure. And so it had costed me a fortune to get like featured in the Wall Street Journal, like as a sponsored, article. And unfortunately, the way they learned about me is one of my former mentees went out and did a really big deal and lost a bunch of money. And they found out that I was his former real estate mentor. And they called me last year in 2023 and they're like, hey, we're doing this story on one of your former students. And do you want to comment on it? And I was freaking out. Like I had sleepless nights. I'm thinking, oh my God, like this is going to be terrible. And, and so we engaged with them. Like I hired a PR team and we engaged with them and they were committed to being fair and balanced. And so we gave them a lot of information about what we do with our mentees and what we don't do and the nature of our relationship and all that type of stuff. So, they kept the article more focused on him and basically just mentioned that I was his real estate coach and they didn't really go down the rabbit hole about me. But then, there was like an article that came out about me and the real deal that wasn't very flattering about me. And let me just say I had a completely different experience with Real Deal journalists than the Wall Street Journal. And then to make things worse, the Journal called me in March of this year of 2024, and they were like, Brad, look, we've done our research and we believe that you, more than anybody else, has had an impact in helping, they said the average person get into the syndication business. So we're going to do a story on the syndication business and your role on popularizing it. And I was just terrified, honestly. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, this is going to be a hit piece and this is going to be terrible because they have this negative narrative about me because of that former student of mine where, that he lost a bunch of money. And so that would be that's ridiculous, by the way. That would be like saying hey, you went to Harvard and then, this was a Harvard grad and this Harvard grad went out and lost a bunch of money. So somehow Harvard's responsible. Isn't that ridiculous, right? So bottom line is they start doing this story about me and I engaged with them. And I flew up to New York and they said I was going to have a 1-hour interview. I was there for 4 hours. And
they took you you offered to come in because they usually don't. So
let me just say it was a really positive experience.
That's
and
nice.
I learned that these journalists are really good people, the two that I work with at the Journal, and they're doing their job. They're trying to create an article that is interesting. And they told me that'd be fair and balanced. And some people told me don't trust them, don't trust the media. And other people told me engage with them and go all in. So that's what I did. Because look, I believe that creation is a process. And so they interviewed me and I told them my story. And then they said, Brad, we're really glad you came up here. And we see a completely different side of you and your company and how you're changing people's lives. and they said, hey, do you have anybody that, any of your successful students that could talk to us? And I'm thinking, man, I have hundreds of successful students. And then I was afraid because I'm like, is anyone really going to want to go on record talking to the national media? And honestly, I was so afraid. So I made a short list of like 20 or 30 students that I've massively helped. And I start calling them one at a time. And I'm like, hey, I'm in this position where I'd love for you to talk to the Wall Street Journal about your success as a multifamily investor and syndicator and your success in my program. And would you mind talking to the Journal? And I'm thinking they're going to say no. And the first person says yes. And then I call the next person and they say yes. Then I call the next person and they say yes. Well, put it this way, like everybody I talked to said yes. And honestly, I went home, I was home that day and I just broke down in tears because, for somebody to go and get on national media without having experience could be risky, and it could be nerve wracking. But and then I went to some industry experts, like lenders and tax professionals and brokers, and I asked them if they would speak to the Journal, and they all said yes. And so at the end of the day, this article came out on July 16th, and I'll never forget, it was 11:30 at night, and I get a text from one of my good friends, and people know him, and I don't want to mention his name, but he actually spoke to the Journal. And the digital version came out and he texted me and goes, Brad, the article is out and it's actually pretty good. And I jumped off the couch and I went and Googled Brad Sumrok.
Because they don't give you a revision for you to see before it comes out, right? It's like whatever comes out is already out.
And I read it and the title was America's Apartment King.
Let's
and
go.
So look, one of my friends gave me the nickname Apartment King. And the Wall Street Journal, the digital title of that article was something along the lines of America's Apartment King. And I would say the article was 80% positive, and you were in it. And you and several other students that were interviewed, you were in it. And the successes that you had were mentioned in there. And honestly, I was really happy with the journalists. They did what they said they were going to do. They were fair. They were balanced. The article wasn't all positive. It was definitely not a sponsored article. But it came out to be more positive than negative. And I'm really, really proud of the article. And I'm proud of the work they did at the Journal. And I had an amazing experience.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to invite your readers, in the show, Cliff Notes, if you put the link in there, let everybody read it. And I'd love to know, if you're listening to the show and you read the article, I'd love to know what you think.
That's great, man. And they had a call with me, I was just sharing my story. I went out, I took everybody a screenshot. It was like an hour, 14 minutes, but it was really from the beginning when I landed into that room all the way to where we are today. And thank for the programs and everybody in a minute. That's where you see when somebody's successful. It's the people that will stay with you in the good times and people that will come in and fight for you, man. And I was one of them. Let's go.
Yeah, man. Thank you for that.
No problem, man. No worries at all. And I appreciate it. Forever grateful. Brad, talked about a little bit about your program, in detail. If somebody's listening, don't know who you are, what is that you do in the apartment industry for a person that want to get into it?
Yeah, well, let me just break this down really simply. I teach a proven framework on how to, find deals, analyze deals, fund deals with debt and equity, close deals, and then manage them and exit them. So it's a step-by-step system, and it's the same system that I do. And the thing is, I've been investing for 22 years, and I'm constantly learning. We've gone through some challenges in the last few years with rising costs and rising interest rates and rising insurance and rising labor, and that. And so my program isn't static. I teach what I do and I teach what I learn and I teach what I experience. So people that come into my program are getting 22 years of their learning curve accelerated into a short period of time. And so, my core program is a 1-year mentoring program. It's the program you were in. And in that program, we walk people through step by step, how to the basics, understanding the deal, what's a cap rate and NOI, and how to analyze a deal and how to find and fund deals. And we offer coaching with experienced coaches. And all my coaches are millionaire apartment investors that have all syndicated multiple deals and helped a lot of people. And so that's what we do is we coach people, we hold their hand, and we help them get into deals. But it's more than that, because we help them like with their, skill sets. Like we help them with their tools. We help them, understand financial analysis. We help them analyze properties, and we help them raise capital. We don't raise capital for them, but we give them tips and strategies on raising capital. And now, like, people were building websites and doing email campaigns, and I don't even know if you know this, but now we're helping some people with that as well.
That's amazing.
And so, like, basically whatever it is that you need to be successful in the apartment investing industry. And look, whether you want to be a passive investor, we could help you do that. One of our students that was in the Wall Street Journal, Jeff Schaefer, was in 73 deals as a passive investor.
I heard when you said that, I was 73 like blown deals, away.
And his net worth has gone up by millions of dollars as a passive investor over 9 years. We help people be general partners like you. You want to come in and roll up your sleeves and be the active investor and put deals together, we can help you do that. Or if you want to buy your own deals with your own money. So whether you want to buy a 5-unit with your own money, or a 50-unit with other people's money, or 150 units, we can help you.
And the great thing as well, the network that is, but people being under the group, the networking events that you do, the training events that you do, that people come together in the same room. Imagine how much data that we can collect from each other, right? But what you experience on your property, what kind of debt you get, and I see that community coming together and helping each other. I'm so there's a lot of value.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because there's, like, if you just go to an individual that understands this stuff and they coach you on it, that could be effective. But my program is so much more than that. We have hundreds of people in it. So we have this whole multifamily investor community where we learn from each other. We could raise equity from each other in an SEC compliant way. We're sharing successes and challenges with each other. So it's kind of like this living organization of, like, every time somebody has an experience, and we have people in our, hundreds of people in our program with tens of thousands of units all over the country that have different experiences. And so, yes, I teach and my coaches coach, but we also bring in people that are like people like you that have an experience. Like if you're doing an acquisition or a refinance or have a challenge, I'm going to ask you to share that experience with others so that we could all benefit from it.
Yeah, it's data that we all are experiencing together.
Yeah, and you can't get that from like a textbook. You can't get it from a blog. You can't get it from a free meetup. Plus all the industry experts. Like if you're looking for a lender, an attorney, an accountant, like where do you go? You don't want to go to Google for that.
Right, no, 100%. There's a lot of value that. And Brad, you actually have an event coming up right now. Let's talk about that event.
Oh my God, this is my favorite event of the year. It's our 7th annual Apartment Investor National Conference. And you were on my team when we were doing the first one. We went to Grant Cardone's office. And
I remember we were sitting on the table and then brainstorming even the names of AIM.con.
I mean, I wanted to create an event that was serving the needs of anybody investing in apartments or wanting to invest in apartments. So we called it the Apartment Investor Mastery National Conference. And so AIM for Apartment Investor Mastery, NAT for National, Con for Conference. So AIM NAT Con, and we're doing our 7th one. And so it's a multi-speaker event. Some of my events are not multi-speaker events, which means I'm like hardcore teaching. It's more like a workshop. But this one is different. This one, I bring in some of the best speakers and teachers and educators on the planet. And this year, I'm just telling you, like, I'm not, what's in vogue right now, if you look at what everyone else is doing out there, everybody else out there, whether they're in real estate or not, they have paid celebrity speakers. And they do that, and look, I did it myself. We do that to fill the room with a lot of people. Like we'll have Damon John speak or whatever, and you got to pay him a lot of money, but then a lot of people come in to hear Damon John, and that's just an example. Or Ed Milet or Grant Cardone or somebody. These people charge hundreds of thousands of dollars. The Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not doing that this year. So everybody that's coming into the event is somebody with whom I have a personal relationship with. So take, for example, Charlie Young. A lot of people don't know Charlie, but he runs Madeira Residential. They got 20,000 doors. He's an industry expert. John Chang with Marcus & Millichap. He's the senior vice president of the largest commercial real estate firm in the country, and he's going to come in. Bill Walsh is a global entrepreneur and success coach and works with people all over the country and in different countries. And he's going to come in and talk about business and entrepreneurship. Tom Wheelwright is going to come in and talk about taxes and what we could expect, whether we could have a Harris administration or a Trump administration, and how we could be prepared for that. And so many more people are coming in that are in the industry and that are going to add valuable content.
100%. You don't go to a car show and looking for boats, right? You go to a car show to see cars, and the AIMNACon, you go there to learn about apartments by people that are doing and have a lot of that data. Man, Charlie Young is great. The Marcus Chap guy is awesome. Oh my God, I remember, was it last year that he put so much data, what the trend is going, what interest rates are happening right now. This is, if you're enthusiastic, if you want to learn about apartments, you got to go to this event. We're going to put a link down below so you can go to Brad's website and secure your tickets there. I'm going to be there. Italo's going to be there as well. We already got our tickets, baby.
Yeah, and look, the other thing we're going to do that we haven't done in previous years that I'm really excited about is Friday and Saturday, when the event finishes, the content sessions finish around 5 or 6 o'clock. And then we're actually going to have structured networking. And so like after the event, instead of people running off to dinner from like 5 to 7 or 6 to 8, we're going to facilitate networking. Okay. So what that enables people to do is people don't want to be networking when we have speakers because we're not doing breakout sessions. Like every speaker is going to be on the main stage, and every speaker could potentially have a message that's going to impact your life, whether it's on business, raising money, property management, how to dominate a market, what's happening with debt right now, and what types of debt we should be looking for. Every single speaker, you want to be in the room, but yet people want to network. So when we're done at the end of the day, we're going to facilitate and have opportunity for networking. And then also we're going to have more industry experts. So if you're looking for an attorney, there'll be the attorney that I use will be there. If you're looking for insurance, they'll be there. If you're looking for contractors, they'll be there. If you're looking for, basically anything that you need, any person, a lender, multifamily lender, they'll be there.
CPA.
A CPA, they'll be there. Any person you need on your team that's going to help elevate your multifamily investing activity, you'll be able to find at AIMNACon.
AIMNACon 2024, tell me the dates.
September 27, 8, and 9 in Dallas, Texas.
Let's go.
You got to rearrange your life to be there. I promise you, if you come to the event, you're going to get massive value.
I guarantee, Brad, no doubt. So links down below to get to AIMNACon 2024. Brad, we're going to ask a couple questions. Let's make it fun, man. This is the Spilling the Beans with Brad Sumrok. Let's go. How you doing?
I'm good.
All right. Snowy mountains or a beach?
Beach.
What would you rather have, a Jeep or a pink Ferrari?
I guess a Jeep. I mean, I'd say Ferrari, but I don't know. I don't think I'd do a pink one, so I'm going to have to go with. Wait, can I get to pick the Jeep color? Then I'd go with the Jeep.
Sure, you can pick the color.
It's funny because I have a Jeep and a Ferrari.
That's why I put that question in there, man. Usually the team does the stuff, but this one I gotta pick Brad's because I know him a little bit. All right, a shot of Casa Su or a glass of the Dawn champagne.
Oh man, that's tough. I would say like right now I'm on a dry spell.
No, stop that.
But I would say I love Clase Azul, and I would not shoot it. I would sip it.
Very good. Our flavorless, all organic sandwich or a delicious, greasy hole-in-the-wall pizza?
Hole-in-the-wall pizza every day of the week.
Let's go. Skydiving or bungee jump?
Neither. Okay, well, wait. I did skydiving once, and I had the opportunity to bungee jump, and I passed.
You passed.
So look, skydiving, you only suffer once because you fall. Bungee jumping, it occurs to me that you suffer multiple times because you dangle up and down for a long period of time.
Just give me a shiver in the spine. Just think about this shit, man. Ooh.
So yeah, skydiving.
All right, logic or emotion?
Oh my God, logic or emotion? Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to have to say I'm actually a highly passionate, emotional person, but I'm going to have to go with logic on that one.
All right, audiobooks or ebooks?
Audiobooks or ebooks? Well, which one is like, I like to actually read something.
The book. So the Rich Dad Poor Dad was actually a book.
A book. Yeah, like a real book first and then an ebook second. Audio, I'm more of a visual person.
Oh man, it's not for me.
Yeah.
All right, this one's fun. R2R or AIM-NACON?
R2R or AIM-NACON. Well, people, so R2R is like a 2 or 3 day weekend event that I teach myself that is not a multi-speaker event. And I love that event.
Which one's your favorite?
Oh man, well, AIM-NACON's right around the corner, so it's AIM-NACON.
AIM-NACON today. All right, this is the last question and final. This one is tricky, man. All right, first class on a Southwest Airlines, or back on the seat on American Airlines flight?
Wait, well, there is no first class on Southwest.
There's priority, though. There's priority. I know, but there's priority.
Do you know Southwest is now abandoning the cattle calling culture, and they're going to start assigning seats?
Cattle calling? What the? Really?
Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so but imagine if you have priority.
I would rather have an assigned seat and get to pick my seat on Southwest or get in that A1 through 15 boarding category than sit in the back of the plane on American any day of the week.
This was fun, and this is Complete the Beans with Brad Sumrok. Let's go. That was fun, man.
That was fun.
Brad, thank you so much for being on the show, man. I feel actually very humbled to say that for all these years, I know you. My big reasons of my success is because of your mentorship, and you're still my mentor today. I still look up to you, man. And having you here in our house, it's a very humble experience for me. Seriously, when I was thinking about this, practicing, I always got tears in my eyes because there's deeply a hardened part for me.
I'm very happy to be here. And when I take a look around here, I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of what you built. I'm proud that you have an association with my program. I thank you for, when I asked you to talk to the Wall Street Journal, it was a risky thing. Like, we didn't know what they were going to publish.
I was a little nervous. I'm not going to lie.
You did that for me, no questions asked. And I'm proud to call you a friend.
Let's go. And Brad, this is the last part. Look at camera 3. What would you give advice to somebody that's starting just like yourself, that got out of your comfort zone, and was hungry for more, and now you have all this success? What would you have to say?
Well, look, when I went to that first real estate investing seminar, I was very skeptical because I had a different path. My path was college and corporate America. And I would just say that if you're skeptical, I get it. Like, I was skeptical too. But one of the biggest secrets, and it's not a secret because I talk about it all the time, is invest in yourself before you invest in any asset class. And so the best investment I ever made was in mentorship programs and masterminds. And I would be honored and humbled for you to invest a weekend at AIM-NACON and to allow me to mentor you for 3 days. And look, whether I end up being your real estate mentor or not, and I hope I earn the right to have that opportunity, but even if I don't, if it's not me, get a mentor. A mentor, there's a saying that a great mentor could take a decade and compress it into days. And so you'll be able to accelerate, you'll be able to avoid mistakes, And it's been the best ROI. It's a better ROI than investing in any asset class, is investing in yourself through a mentorship program. And so that's what I want to tell people, man. Like, get a mentor, find something you want to do, find something that resonates with you, find something you're passionate about, and find a person that their style and their values align with you, and that they have a track record of transferring what they do to other people.
Let's go, man.
All right.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks for being here. Let's go, man. Let's grow together. Let's kick ass.
Let's go.
Thank you.
All right.
And as always, thank you so much for watching the Real Grind podcast. As Brad was just saying, do you have a mentor? Have you found your passion? Are you educating yourself, investing in yourself? Don't waste time. So for you there, it's listening on your favorite podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music. Thank you so much. I hope you had a great experience on this episode. This episode was sponsored by F Monday, the coffee that we bring here on the show. So if you're looking for amazing coffee, if you're looking to support local farmers, people that have the attitude that they want to get it, look no further. Go to fmonday.com and you're going to find the best coffee out there. And again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing, because this is the real grind. Let's go.
Waking up to success. Now we're getting it started. This is the real grind. Everything you've been wanting, building an empire, no question. Talking about real estate, investing, making the millions, no stopping. While we sip on gourmet coffee.